Welcome into a Thursday edition of the Jordy Culotta Show, driven and powered by Go Chevrolet. Shout out to our crew at Go Chevrolet. They are online at GEAUXchevrolet.com. They are in LaPlace, Louisiana. If you're shopping for new cars over in Baton Rouge here, they've got a used car lot at Go Express Auto Sales. Brody Miller from The Athletics going to stop by here at the top of the 8 o'clock hour. Mikey Matuk, former LSU All-American, should be making his way through the studio at some point. Wes Shin, I think Matuk needs to co-host from here on out. Wes, we agree. He'll be here every day. He loves it. We love it. It's been fantastic, bro.
Dude, he's so good.
He is.
And he's been doing this without the inner workings. No prep document, no nothing. Just coming here stone cold sober and knocking it out the park.
We've included him on the document now, so he kind of feels a part of the show. Got the email from him last night.
That's the secret handshake of, come on in anytime.
It is. You're welcome.
You've been extended to the fraternity.
You've been accepted. Matuk will be here shortly. We will talk about LSU and Florida getting geared up for an 11 o'clock start on Saturday morning. Ed Ogeron was speaking with the press yesterday for a couple of times. Bad news for the Tigers with more personnel issues. They'll be missing a couple of their key contributors. We'll tell you about it and give you our opinion coming up here on the Jordy Culotta Show. We appreciate you starting our day with us here on the Jordy Culotta Show. If you're already in here, whether you're on Facebook, on YouTube, JordyCulottaShow.com, wherever you're taking this in, please hit that like, share, comment button. Tell a friend about what's going on, where you can find us, 7 to 9 a.m. We'll be here on Saturday talking about that LSU-Florida game. What's the capacity going to look like? What's the environment going to be, atmosphere on Saturday? Beautiful Thursday morning here. Pink skies. Little foggy this morning. All yogaed up, stretched out.
I know why you were out there. Just feeling limber.
Feeling good on this Thursday, man. Shout out to Yoga 90 and the crew over there. April Hill, Roy Hill, and the entire crew. Starting us off this morning at the 5:15 class.
You think you and TB were doing the same thing at the same time?
I don't
Tom's
know,
got
man.
the game tonight. He's got to get limbered up.
I feel TB 12-ish.
Uh-oh.
I feel good.
Stretch that thing.
I feel good. I'm mocking and laughing at the bench pressers.
Yeah, good. You won't be in here for a month.
Get your beach workouts in.
Labrums are getting torn all over the place.
Appreciate Brian and Annie Pinton for jumping into the super chat and donating $5 to the show. Thank you very much. The super chat is open over on YouTube. We appreciate you for being here. With that donation, Brian asks, what is the over-under for Saturday? 60,000 fans. We had it set at 50 earlier this week on our poll question. Did we get a result on that poll?
We did.
Earlier?
We did. Let me pull it up.
We had 50,000 as the number. A lot of things going against the grain on LSU, obviously, here. Coming off of a bad loss in Lexington, a day game, an 11 a.m. game, a morning game, really, in Tiger Stadium. Just doesn't seem to vibe ever.
Ready?
I got 50,000, Brian and Annie. I say, and really and truly, if I'm even voting on the 50,000 number, I'm saying under.
Well, you join the rest of the people. 54% say under 50,000 out of 1.1 thousand votes. 54% say under, 46 say over 50,000 people.
So about 1,100 votes.
Yeah.
Majority says it's going to be under 50,000. I tend to agree. I hope it's not for the players' standpoint, as we have said here. And look, I know what we talked about yesterday, the best way to send a message to the administration is really speak with your dollar, or the lack of your dollar, and showing up. And I didn't mean that in any way for being non-supportive to the football team and to the football players, really, the football players on the field, because they deserve the support, they deserve the encouragement, they deserve the fan base. But a lot of you curious on how and why Ed Ogeron is still employed by LSU. And, my rant on that yesterday was, if you want to have your voice heard, then don't show up, don't spend your money, and that's the best way to impact that. So it is a little bit of a tough spot for the fan base out there, in the sense of you want to support the student athletes, you want to be there for the guys on the field, but you also want to send a message if you're there, or if you don't go, on what you expect the LSU football program to look, to produce, to execute at a level at. Remember, daily, before we jump into today's show, we are brought to you daily by Go Chevrolet. As we explained, our coffee is brewed down here in South Louisiana by Majestic Coffee, DeliciousSips.com, True Blue Water, So the water tank's speaking a little bit here on a Thursday morning. Bubbling up. TRUBluewater.com. Easy to get on the delivery route if you're looking for it. Log online to TRUBluewater.com. That is TRUBluewater.com. The official spice of the Jordy Culotta Show is Papa Earl's. 30% less sodium than the competition. Jump online or check them out on Facebook. They're all over locally. They're at High Neighbors, Rouse's, anywhere you can find here locally. Calandro's. Look for Papa Earl's, the spice, the official spice of the Jordy Culotta Show. As we said, Brody Miller going to be here at 8 a.m. this morning. And we'll talk to Brody from The Athletic. He had a nice sit-down with Elias Ricks' mother and got some quotes from Miss Ricks, Shauna Ricks, in talking about where Eli is after the news yesterday. Via the phone line this morning, compliments of Metropolitan Health Group. So when Brody stops by, that'll be because of Metropolitan Health Group sponsoring our phone lines. We appreciate Charlie Harvey and Jason Ramazan every day here on the Jordy Culotta Show. That is Real Doctors, Real Solutions over at Metropolitan Health Group. Get in touch with them today. And as we talked about earlier this week, want to welcome aboard City Cafe. Squeaky Miranda, Cody Miranda, and the crew over there on O'Neill Lane. Over 100 years in business. Brunch starts at 10 a.m. on Sunday morning. Remember, we reminded you, I think we touched on it a little bit last week in talking about City Cafe. They're looking for personnel. If you're looking for work, they're looking for all positions. Managerial, to kitchen, to front of the house, to hostess. Everybody in the restaurant business, City Cafe has got an open spot for you. Get over to City Cafe if you're looking for work right now. Squeaky Miranda, Cody Miranda, fired up to have them a part of the Jordy Culotta Show. Stop and see them over on O'Neill Lane if you're out there. Appreciate everybody jumping in with the super chats this morning. Carl Roberts said Ed Ogeron lost the team last season. It's only going to get worse if Woodward does not pull the proverbial trigger. We were talking about that, Carl, yesterday, and a little not head scratching, but a little curious on how and why Ogeron still is. That looks fantastic.
Hey,
that looks awesome.
Thank you.
Excellent work, Lloyd.
I can't promise it'll work
yeah,
every
but
time.
I'm just saying, good jump off. Good jump off. Good job. Yeah, we have touched on that a little bit, Carl, on really losing the team. If you heard Ogeron speak yesterday, he mentioned that Andre Anthony called a players-only team meeting. When I hear players-only meeting, that's usually a bad sign, right? I mean, it's usually a cause of concern when you hear players-only meeting. Now, sometimes there's positive things that come out of that, but most of the time that means that you're in disarray, that you are really going through a lot of stuff, and LSU is going through it right now. Some of the announcements that Ed Ogeron made yesterday leading up to his radio show was very discouraging, if not for the LSU fan base, I'd imagine for that locker room. Really, when you look around now here on a Thursday morning, if you're sitting inside of LSU's locker room, you're seeing no Elias Ricks and no Allie Gay for the rest of the season. It looks like that's on the heels of the news coming about Keyshawn Butte, about Derek Stingley, about some of the guys, most of the guys that are missing. There he is.
There he is.
Look at this guy. Wow, bro. Walking in here at 7:15.
Never late, but always on time, my brother.
The All-American is here, the former first-round pick, Mikey Matuk, the new co-host of the Jordy Culotta Show. I mean, for God's sakes, bro.
Let's go.
Just call it what it is. Has joined us here on the set. It's good to see you, brother. How are you? Talking a little bit about just what was happening with yesterday's announcements, and you can speak better than this than we can. Players-only meeting. You hear that term, you think what? Yeah. Right?
It's we need help. Is what I hear.
Yeah.
Has it ever been a good scenario? Where
Yeah. No, I mean, not every players only meeting is a bad thing. You know what I mean? Like, there's some circumstances where players only meetings are good. I think the players only meetings that are impromptu, that are like the leader goes out of his way to have that meeting when nothing's like, he kind of sees the issues brewing. I think that's when they're good. When the issues are like, it's already a volcano of a mess and it's just, lava pouring out, and then you have a players-only meeting, it's like, it may be, I mean, it could help. I hope it helps, but it could be a little too late. You know, the guys may have been off the ship
like
already.
You're dragging your feet
does
to
feel
get in
like
there.
a little bit of a heave of desperation, and good for Andre Anthony, really and truly.
Seriously.
I mean, I pull for Andre Anthony harder just for as about anyone in that locker room because of what he's gone through, what he has given to the university, and what he continues to do even after an injury to his senior season that has obviously set him back. It is good to see his leadership qualities still on display, but I have the same feeling when I heard the word and heard the term yesterday, players only meeting. I thought, just like Mikey's first reaction, how bad is this thing? And then you hear Orgeron announce that Eli Ricks, Ali Gay are going to be missing time. And when you think about what LSU is dealing now, just with the depleted numbers, I mean, it's got to be a very lonely feeling in that locker room this morning to look around and not see Keishawn Butte, to not see Derek Stingley, to not see Andre Anthony, to not see Eli Ricks, to not see Ali Gay. I mean, it's just some of the frontline guys that you were really counting on, some of the best players on the team, some of the most talented guys on the team are just not there anymore, and they're going to be gone for the rest of the season. Now, this gives great opportunity for guys that are behind them, and this gives great opportunity for guys that may not have thought that they would have gotten a chance this season, and sometimes that works out great for the individual and for the team. In this instance, it just feels like this is going to set LSU back even more.
What do you think the issue is? Like, why? I mean, I know some of these issues and some of the injuries are unavoidable.
Yeah.
I know, especially with the way the season's gone, the last couple of years especially, and I know, when every time you hear, I guess, parents come out and try to solidify their their son's positioning in school. And this is not what I guess answering the questions of the noise that hasn't really been asked, but that are been kind of floating around. That always kind of worries me a little bit.
It feels like LSU's got a culture problem.
Yeah.
Right now, it feels like they're going through some things inside that locker room where the message, and this is something that we were speaking about early in the season, that the message didn't look like it was getting from the coach to the player. It didn't look like it was hitting home from the coach to the player. Now, since that take a couple of weeks back, it's been obvious that has just not happened. It looks as if Ed Orgeron has lost the locker room, lost the team again. This would be the second consecutive season that's happened. When I thought players only meeting, when I heard players only meeting yesterday, that was the first thing that I thought was somebody, kind of within trying to wrangle some leadership and give some direction to the program, from a player standpoint. And that, as we've said, usually does not work out well for the team. But overall, I think if you want to describe LSU football and their issues in just one term, I think it would be culture. Yeah. I think it seems like there's a problem within the locker room of just the leadership. There's a problem with the leadership, and I'm not talking about the leadership within the team. I'm talking about the leadership from a coaching standpoint where, look, we've all been there. We've all been in a classroom with the substitute teacher. Yep. We've all been in a classroom where you know what you can get away with certain leaders. We've all been on a team where coaches have not been as strict as other coaches. So when you're with a position group, you can get away with things that you can't do in front of the head coach. All those types of things seems like that's one of the issues with LSU. They got really good coaches up there, man. Corey Raymond, Kevin Falk, Mickey Joseph. I even think Brad Davis has made a really small but major impact in his. See it. Yeah, you really are. You really are starting to see some of his work starting to come to the field on Saturdays after being thrust into that job in midsummer. So obviously they've got talented guys on that coaching staff. There's just a breakdown at the head coaching seat right now that it's hard to overcome.
Well, you mentioned it being like a substitute teacher. When that Zenith comes rolling in the classroom in high school, it's game over.
Boy,
you see that old crate, and then you're like,
Absolutely.
we're about to watch a movie. Somebody's going to do something.
That's going back, and that's going back in the archives there. The Zenith TV.
Change seats.
Wow.
You know what I mean? I'm sitting by her.
Yeah, no assigned seats anymore. Like you don't even
Exactly.
know. Yeah, for
Was
sure.
there any better feeling than walking in the
No,
classroom?
none.
The teacher's not there.
and
You're like,
especially unexpectedly.
Yes.
Like, oh, what
Yes.
happened? Like,
Oh, that was the best day.
dude,
Yes.
wait,
Yeah,
are
right.
they not here? That means
Yes.
somebody's rolling in, and it's usually a normal sub that you're like, oh, we're about to get away with murder in here.
Yes, this is going to
Well,
be
they have,
great.
they have the revolving door of subs, and you're like, you have the strict
Sure.
subs who like really like thinks they're like the main teacher, and then you have the PE coach sub who
Crack that
doesn't want to
history
do
book, bud.
anything. Like, hey, this is what we have to do. Turn on a movie, and that's the one you hope for. When you get that one, you're like, yes.
He's over there staring into his laptop. You think he's watching film. He's certainly watching a film.
Right.
We're just not sure what he's doing
Yeah.
behind the desk over there.
Kind of tucked up.
Yeah, and way in the corner. I'm going to
right.
move this desk, fellas, if that's okay. Yeah, sure, Coach.
Brian and Annie Penton, who have super chatted us $5 more. Thank you, Brian and Annie.
Super
Says
chat,
that
you'll get on the screen.
the bet he bets that most fans will be staying outside and tailgate. Look, I think so. If it's like this morning, which I think
Yeah.
is going to be a beautiful Saturday morning in Tiger Stadium in 48 hours, that that environment outside the stadium should be fantastic. I don't know how much you'll get pulled inside the stadium, first and foremost because of the product, but like we said, I mean, 11 a.m. football games in Baton Rouge are just tough to grasp.
So, winning obviously makes everything better, and losing makes everything worse. Obviously.
Yes.
Remember in 19 when Coach O would come out and say, I hope the fans have something a little extra in their coffee this morning.
Yeah.
And like it carried more weight, and then he dropped that line yesterday, and you're like, it doesn't really hurt. Doesn't really hit as hard anymore.
He had to. He has to feel that. You know what I mean? I was thinking about that last night because he still goes to.
I respect that he's still.
Me too,
You have
man.
to. You have to.
You got to keep driving it.
Yeah, you have to. You can't just turn it off the cliff. You can't. And I do respect it. I know he's in a super freaking hard position. It's a no-win position, to be honest with you. I mean, yeah, if he wins out, he may say, he beats Alabama, but that's not going to happen.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
And so I do respect what he's trying to do. It's just, it just doesn't hold. It doesn't hit as
Doesn't
hard,
move the
man.
meter.
No.
It's
Just
a little
doesn't
bit like
move it.
going to see like an old comedian, and you're like,
Yeah.
oh, he's still doing these jokes. Like they used to. I remember when 4 years ago, I was laughing my ass
those
off.
things used to hit.
This
Right.
used to make me. It's like Dane
Right.
Cook.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, when I was 14, this was funny, and now I'm 24. It's like, I don't know why I thought this was funny at one point, but he still got his script that he sticks to, and he hopes it hits because he remembers the laughs from 2018 and 2019 that he got when he said all of the same things, and now it's just. I might need to rewrite some material here.
Look, and as critical as we have been about Ed Ogeron,
And I don't want to be.
Sure. I mean,
I was a
wanted to
fan when he
work.
signed.
Absolutely.
When they said he's the head coach, like I want to promote him. I was like, I believe this guy's gonna do it. Like I know that he gets a second chance. Like I don't root for the guy to fail.
Yeah.
I don't want him to fail. Like I love LSU. I love Coach. Like I want him to succeed, but the reality of it is it hasn't worked out.
that seat is a pressure cooker. You know it when you take it. You know it when you're going through the good times. You know that this thing could spin on a dime. And when you're in the bad times like they are now, you don't know if it can it continually get worse, and it can. I mean, almost every single day you wonder whether it's a public relations or it's announcement that you're missing more players. I mean, think about the scenario yesterday when Jack Marucci or the training staff walked into Ogeron's office and said, Ricks and Gay are out for the year. You know what I mean? Like on the heels of the Butte, Stingley news. Think about this. I mean, let's just say this out loud. Of the players that were on the team midsummer that have not had an opportunity to play or miss limited action this year. Miles Brennan, who was in competition for the starting quarterback. John Emery, who was probably the starting running back going into the season. Keyshawn Butte, who was the best offensive player on the team. Chris Hilton, one of the star-studded wide receivers in this recruiting class. Andre Anthony, the leader in the locker room and a guy that was having a stellar senior season. Allie Gay, who was considered to be your best pass rusher going into the year. Glenn Logan comes back this Saturday, which is a nice infusion to the defensive line, which means you can slide Mason Smith outside to help you out on some of those key guys that you're missing, like Andre Anthony and Gay outside at the defensive end. Jared Small was supposed to be the starting linebacker going into the season. You miss him and lose him the week of the UCLA game. Derek Stingley and Eli Ricks, the two best corner tandem in college football, are out. Major Burns, Todd Harris, Sage Ryan has missed extended action. Ogeron said we should see Ryan this week last night on his radio show when he was pressed who will now start at cornerback. He mentioned Dwight McLaughlin, who stepped in for Stingley last week and got the start. He mentioned that they're now going to switch Cardell Flott from that nickel back to a starting cornerback spot. And he says last night they're going to slide Sage Ryan in this Saturday and play him, that five-star freshman from Lafayette. He was down at Lafayette Christian and very highly touted, very highly recruited, was a five-star guy and really been asked, throughout the early signs or the early parts of the season, where is he? Well, look, he's been dealing with a back problem. And as we told you, Kevin Falk's daughter, who tragically passed away a couple of weeks back, that's family to Sage Ryan. And not only was Kevion Sage's cousin, but she was in the building every day as a part of the recruiting office in LSU football. So that's somebody that Sage was very close to and right around the same age as, was a cousin to. And look, he lost a family member in the middle of his freshman season. So not only has he had the physical setback with the back injury, he's had the mental setback with losing a family member and a friend in Kevion Falk. So I think that, we do have to have patience with Sage Ryan. But as we said yesterday, I can't imagine the text messages and phone calls that either Sage Ryan or his people have been having to go through with him not on the field and what LSU football is going through. The phone lines are blowing up over there from coaches around the country and around the SEC asking, are you happy? Why aren't you playing? Didn't they tell you were going to play? Well, you hadn't gotten on the field yet. You can play here if you come here now. Right. All of those conversations are kind of rolling downhill on LSU football. But we mentioned the guys that have been out this year, have not been available or haven't played. Think about this one. In 2018 and 2019, LSU signed 8 five-star players, 8 of them. None of those guys are going to be on the field this Saturday.
That's crazy. That
is tough. That when it all comes down to it, and there's a lot of BS that is floating around LSU football, public relations, Ed Ogeron, stability, players aren't on the field, players are opting out, all that stuff. When you don't have those guys that you recruited at a high end, 8 five-star players, Jamar Chase, isn't it crazy that he should be playing football? He could be playing football this Saturday. That is nuts to think about, that he could be the starting wide receiver at LSU. I know that is a pipe dream, but he would have eligibility.
That's what's bizarre to me. I didn't even think about that until yesterday, and whenever I saw that list come out, and I was like, Jamar Chase would be a senior on this football team.
Marshall too.
So would Terrace Marshall. Yeah. Think about that. Terrace Marshall and Jamar Chase, 2 five-star guys, both in the league. They could be eligible right now to be playing college football. So those 2 guys are in the league. Terrace is in Carolina playing with Joe Brady. Obviously, Jamar Chase is the best rookie in the NFL right now. Derek Stingley Jr. out. John Emery Jr. out, not because of injury-related stuff. Marcel Brooks is playing at TCU. Arik Gilbert's going through his stuff off the field. Keishawn Butte's got a broken foot. Eli Ricks is getting shoulder surgery. Yep. That's 8 five-star players that you recruited 3 years ago in the 2018 and 2 years ago in the 2019 recruiting cycle, and none of them are available this Saturday.
So for me, it's I can swallow the 18, 3 years, 5-star recruit coming in, he's gone after 3. I can.
You expect that with a 5-star. You expect those guys to not be there for
the guys I hate it I hate that Stingley can't play. Stingley hadn't played in 2 years basically. He didn't barely play last year. This guy is a generational talent at cornerback, and his freshman year was unbelievable. And it's I wanted to be able to watch him play. I wanted to be able to look at him like I looked at Patrick Peterson when I was here.
Exactly.
Patrick Peterson came in as a generational talent at cornerback, and I got to watch him play 3 years there and ball out.
And you got to see him get better and better and better.
I'm not blaming Stingley at all. It sucks is what I'm saying. It's just it's very unfortunate that He's not there. He's not playing.
No, but when you get a freshman on campus that you know is going to play immediately, you want that star turn from freshman to sophomore to their junior year, where they're doing what Patrick Peterson was doing, where he's running back punts against West Virginia, running back punts. You know, like you get the full experience. You know, you get to see him go toe to toe with Julio Jones, and you're like, well, that guy's a top 5 pick.
Right.
I can't believe I got to enjoy his last year at LSU, and Stingley just missed. You got the freshman year. And then when you see something like that,
and you think that he's going to get more opportunity, like maybe catching balls, maybe he's going to return punts, he's going to score touchdowns, like he's going to have the cover corner ability of Patrick Peterson when he was here. And I thought I was going to get the Honey Badger playmaker ability and like the punt return game and the like having the ball in his hands too, because that's what he had. He has both of those things, and it's just that's the way football is sometimes, and it sucks, and it's. You know, it's been 2 years of just unprecedented bullshit.
Yeah, but you understand, like, because of what you're saying from the fans' perspective, like, you understand some of the animosity because they feel like they missed something.
Right.
Like, it's like a sequel that never came out.
Right.
Or like the Dre never dropping the Chronic 2. Like, you're like, I know it's out there. Can you give it to me? Because you can do it.
Yep.
And it's just not, you
Wow,
never
what a
got to
reference
see it.
to the Chronic 2. Wow.
Yeah.
Great reference.
It's out there. It's got to be.
It's got to be.
We'll see it at halftime.
Best tour, maybe?
The Chronic?
2001.
Yes.
When they put it back together,
everybody out
Eminem,
there. Yes,
everybody was coming out there.
If you didn't see one of those people come out, you had to be so disappointed. Be like, I didn't get the good showing.
Still, maybe to this day, the best concert I've ever seen was in New Orleans. With that, I mean, that's when Snoop came out in the 6'4" bouncing. I mean, people were going
nuts.
It smelled like Relief Med in that place. I mean, it was, and that was 01. You know what I mean? Like it was crazy.
We're good here? Don't pat me. That's the old man patting down people on the meme. Like, you're good. Give me one and you can go in.
What did we think about last night's radio show? Nothing popped off. Impressive. Everything was good.
You got out in front of it.
I think they vetted a little bit more.
No, they didn't vet anything. They planted those things. They planted those things. Let's go to Willie in Birmingham. Hey, Willie. Hey, Coach, I love you, man.
A little bit of an echo in the room.
Right. Step outside. But I thought it was, look, man, that's tough announcements. That's tough. That is a tough, no matter what we think, no matter where we are on Ed Ogeron, to announce that Gay and Ricks are out for the rest of the season after what you've been dealing with. That has to be exhausting.
There hasn't been one positive thing he's been able to like.
Right.
There hasn't been something to take just an iota of heat off of him. Like nothing.
Here's this. When is the last piece of positive news you got about LSU football? Is it Walker Howard committing?
Yeah, but then he breaks his ankle. But yeah, it's probably that. But I'm saying
But I'm fine with that because he's not playing. Get him healthy here.
Get him healthy and get him here.
Yeah.
But I think he thought the best positive news he could put out there was the team meeting, was the players only meeting.
I think so too.
That was his positive spin on this entire thing.
I think so too. And he didn't recognize that that's a condemnation. That's a condemnation on him. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like that is very much another highlighted point of his failure. I think him announcing that they had a players only meeting is kind of, like your girlfriend like, yeah, he broke up with me. You know what I mean? Like,
I mean, he's trying to say like at least the team is still together. Look, I know haven't been the leader that y'all expected, but at least the team is trying to, like, the season's not a failure in their mind. Like, that's the reason you leak that message out to say, look, they're still going to show up Saturday and play hard.
Well, back to the last thing about the team meeting is like, sometimes in a situation like this, if the head coach has lost the clubhouse or the locker room or whatever, if he's lost the team, sometimes the team meeting is, hey bro, F that guy. Like, screw that guy. Let's play for us.
Yeah.
Play for him, play for him, play for him. Like, I've been in those meetings, and you know what? Sometimes you come out of that meeting like, yeah,
let's go.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Refresh a
like,
little
go
bit.
out there and, like, you run around, like, you're flying to the football, and you're like, it has nothing to do with him. Like, hey, we know how to play football. And sometimes it's like, hey, bro, we've been in this shit together for a while.
Yeah.
Screw it. Don't matter. Who cares what's going on with him? Do it for us. Be a little selfish. Let's be selfish for us. And sometimes that works.
And where LSU is mentally, that may be the best formula that they can put out there.
Because don't you just start kind of rolling it? It turns into backyard football a little bit. Just roll the ball out there, like fuck whatever they're telling me. Like, let's go play cover 2. Let's go and go get it.
Well, understand the coverage. Cover this guy. Go get the football.
And LSU has those types of athletes that they still scare people. Now, if you're breaking down LSU, you're thinking, my God, I mean, they don't have Stingley, they don't have Ricks, they don't have Gay, they don't have Butte, they don't have they don't have Emery. I mean, like, let's get on this bus.
You also have 4 5-stars behind, or 3 5-star receivers behind him.
Right.
You have Sage Ryan. Hopefully, Sage Ryan. I want him to like show out, and be like, whoa, there we go.
We still have a future here.
Absolutely. Like, damn, give me some bright spots to look at.
Playing nickel's a great spot for him, I think. You know, like it kind of eases him in. Like, he has got to cover maybe a little bit more than if he would have at safety, but like
no added responsibilities.
I think they maybe blitz him off the edge, get some easier, like for sure
tackles and plays.
You know, like, hey, come off the edge on this play. Like, you're going to get to the quarterback. Your only job is to get him. If you don't get him, it's okay. But if you get him, hey, you get your first sack.
Our friend Jesse McCormick inside of the bunker says player-only meetings are like vow renewals. We all know it's over, but let's give it one last shot. Remember, daily, we are brought to you by A-Bear Specialty Meats, online at abearspecialtymeats.com. Get in touch with them. We are compliments. We're handing away some tickets some more. Jay Maggio, as we said, A-Bear's Walter Dalgo called me the other day, said he got 2 tickets to the Florida game. We're hooking up Jay Maggio this morning with the tickets. So, Jay, if you're looking for tailgating food, get over and stop in over at A-Bear's Highway 73. They've got fresh boudin. They've got great selections of steaks, ground meat patties, anything that you need for your tailgate. They got a great game in Baton Rouge on Friday night. University High is playing Madison Prep at Memorial Stadium. That'll be a fantastic prep high school football game. If you're going out there and looking for some tailgating stuff to eat on, stop into A-Bear Specialty Meats, Highway 73, Dutchtown Shopping Center, right there next to Dutchtown High School, as you can stop in there. Great freezer selections, the specialty meats. Remember, they've got great selections of boudin, crackling, all of that you can take out to the tailgate. Stop in and see A-Bears today.
Pork chop, shrimp pie, crawfish tails, stuffed potatoes, meat pie, boudin, brother.
There's nothing.
Lafayette people in charge of food. It's going to be some good food.
Maurice.
Good
people, man. abearsmarkets.com. They got those everywhere in Lafayette. I mean, people eat boudin for breakfast in Lafayette.
Yeah, boudin omelets and stuff. I think it's great.
Well, you hit the perfect food triangle. You get your protein, your carbs. What do you, a little sugar? What else do you need, dude? You ready for the day?
I don't think that works that way, but it's okay.
That's what the sub taught me.
Brian Swire says, would it be a negative to allow high school recruits into a half-packed stadium? That's a great question. How do you use this weekend for recruiting? I know that you only have 7 Saturdays to show off Tiger Stadium from a football administrative standpoint, but last time they were out, Auburn on a Saturday night, that was a dream scenario. This is a nightmare scenario for the recruiting department.
I think that, I mean, yeah, it's going to suck. Like, the game's not going to be as electric as it was for the Auburn game. But I think that some of these recruits come in, like, they know. Like, most of these guys have been here before.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, they know what LSU look. They know 11 o'clock game and what's going on. Like, they know, like, recruit, like, they're not dumb. Like, they're, especially with social media, the social media age and like Twitter and Instagram, like, they know what's going on. I think for them it's just more about, hey, let's just go out and hopefully LSU comes out and puts out like a good performance. But I think that they kind of know what they're going into. I think that it's more about what is being told to them as opposed to what they're actually seeing.
You're being pitched the future, right?
Yeah.
Like, you can come in here and change this. And whenever we get everybody healthy, if you're on the LSU staff, like, look, whenever LSU gets ourselves back right, you can be a part of this. And you've seen what it looks like when it's great. Like, this is a turnaround moment for you. And you hope that if it does play out to where LSU plays well in that game, that it's a loud 50,000.
Yeah.
That it's something like, imagine this place packed with people like this.
Right.
Good recruiting also tells this group on Saturday morning, you get here, we never play 11 o'clock games.
Yeah.
You know
never
what I
have
mean?
to wake up this early again.
You'll never have to play in something like this when you get here. If we get everybody that's at this recruiting visit, if you get Quincy Wiggins, if you get Will K, get all these guys, right? Because to me, Florida has played this thing perfectly with Quincy, where Wiggins was in Gainesville last week, sees Florida kick the teeth in of some state school, sees the environment, puts on the gear, sees the facility, and then comes to Baton Rouge this weekend where he's at home and sees Florida, as 10-point favorites going into the game. Is it still at 10, even with the news of Ricks and Gay? And I don't think that players like that shift the line too much, but when you get news of another starting cornerback out, now you're having to play a couple of your backups, even though I think Flott is fantastic.
He might make himself some money.
He could make himself some money. Well, I think he's already made himself money.
To be able to stand out
now going outside, he's going to answer even more questions for NFL guys, because playing inside in the slot right there, he looked dominant.
Yeah.
I would have loved to have seen him play the slot with Ricks and Stingley on each side, like for an extended amount of time. Good Lord. I mean, you're talking about 3 maybe top 10 picks.
Yeah. Dude, if you put like him in the slot with those two, I mean, he's bullying any slot receiver that he's not going to let him get off the line. He reminds me a little bit of, correct me if I'm wrong, a little Thurl Simon.
Dude, I was just about to say that. I was like, man, he kind of came on late.
Yeah, and he's so long, and you're like, where has he been?
And he makes plays where you're like, damn. That interception he had against Mississippi State was just like, wow. That is
a player.
Big time. So it will be interesting to see him at corner. I think Dwight McLaughlin played well. Did he go up?
11.5.
Did it?
I mean, you're losing all.
I wonder if that just means that people are jumping on Florida, because 10 feels light.
That's public movement.
Yeah,
I got it. 9.
Wow,
call me
it's
crazy.
A gift.
Call me crazy.
Yeah,
I think we may cover. Call me nuts.
That would be crazy.
That's a big number.
Call me crazy. 11.5's
that's
a lot,
huge
dude.
number for LSU Florida. If I'm looking brand on brand, right? If I'm looking purple and gold on orange and blue, to me, see an 11-point number next to any of those colors, I'd be like, hang on.
Think of it this way. LSU is not the only team playing an 11 o'clock game. They're not like Florida has to travel and play an 11 o'clock game.
Good point.
That's exactly what I was going to say, because you see it home dogs
we're
in
on
the
the same
morning.
page today. We're on the same wavelengths today.
I might have to hedge a little bit. It was a
dangerous
number.
for you over there, brother.
The toxic corner.
Good to see Lance Beal, our friend inside of the Super Chat this morning. Thank you for the donation, Lance. He also says, glad to see more Lafayette people getting involved in the show. Lance, of course, brings us our Sunday night show. As we kind of wrap up the weekend, we appreciate Lance. Remember, he is an attorney over there in the Acadiana area. He's an expert with small business and knows what that means to the community. If your small business needs any help, get in touch with Lance Beal, the attorney of law over there in Lafayette. And as always, he is here supporting his guy, Mikey Matuk, who is a new addition to the show. A lot of people freaking out about Katie inside of the bunker, wanting to know if Matuk has jumped to her position and has bumped her off the show.
The Lebanese war.
No way, bro.
No way.
He has seen the power structure here, and he knows not to mess with Mama Alaga, the queen of carpool.
It's the Saudis and the Shiites.
Yeah, that's right. This is not the fight he wanted to pick here on his new gig. She's back off of the anniversary trip last week to Mexico, and a lot of things going on around. She should be coming in here at some point. She got caught in traffic yesterday. She was in dead stop traffic yesterday, so couldn't make it in, but she should be in.
And I was 15 minutes late today, too.
In the second hour. It's all good.
So I'm making it look. I started at 8, then I came in at 7:45, then 7:30, then 7:50. I had to drop my dog off at daycare. You know, he likes to
bring him here.
It's kind of the vibe.
Look, next time I'll bring Kobe here.
Bring KB over
here. It's him and Copper.
Yeah,
play.
We'll hang out.
You have to rename it.
But that's kind of the vibe. That's kind of the vibe of the show.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, come on in, bro. Come on. So it should be. I mean, Mikey's going out there on Saturday. We're going to go out there and tailgate on Saturday.
Where do you tailgate?
We'll kind of just bounce around, but we'll be at the Party Box.
Yeah, come on, Party Box.
We'll be at the Party Box right there on the corner of Nicholson and South Stadium.
That is it.
That's it. Just look for the fans.
Just look for the fan with a tiger tail hanging from it. Baby.
Exactly, and a lot of fine-skinned people
and no,
over
we're
there.
There's gonna be a nice sign. My sister got engaged. Shout out to my sister last night.
Nice, congratulations.
Saw that on the ground.
Mom's gonna have no more kids. They're all getting married.
Good.
Congratulations.
Yep.
Is that the last Matuk?
That is the last one of.
Your immediate.
Immediate.
Yes.
Yeah, there's plenty of other Matoks out there.
Right.
It's like stepping on an ant. It's like stepping on an ant. It's like stepping on an anthill, dude. It's all come spurting out.
So we'll be out there on Saturday morning. We'll obviously be doing the post game wrap up stuff, and then we'll be here on Sunday night. Compliments of Lance and kind of recapping the weekend. 11 does feel like a lot of points, no matter who you're missing, because you're still plugging in players that are motivated to play. I mean, We've all been in that spot where you get an opportunity where nobody has any expectation for you. And as a competitor, I don't know if there's more of a beautiful place to be.
And as an opponent, I don't know if there's a scarier place to be.
Right.
Because we're supposed to beat them. We should beat them. Everything tells us that we should beat them. But man, they are playing for nothing to lose, and only they hate us too. And like it's not like it's just like a team that just comes in. Like it's a team that they don't like. So who knows?
It's the classic spot, right? Or it's the classic rivalry spot where, like you said, you have nothing to lose. And then if you let LSU hang around a little bit, you're like, shit, they got some players. Like LSU, I know everybody's hurt, but you insert some of these guys that have played before, and then you insert a little spice with oh my God, the freshman that's about to play,
Sage
Ryan, like somebody that can make a play out there. All of this like can lead up to, if you just let LSU hang around a bit, the new running game that they have. You know, if you can kind of control the clock. Maybe there's there's a recipe.
We had a 1-game stretch.
I mean, how much do they highlight that run game?
There's 15 articles about it.
There is. Ogeron led off the SEC teleconference, led his radio show. I mean, the run game last week was it.
Everybody's been asking for it. We gave it to you, but we took everything else away.
I mean, we were down. LSU was down 30, but you saw
what's that run game? Like, all right. You got blown out, man. Let's not get all there right.
I think they wanted you to run the ball in that situation.
Remember, Edward Jones brings you the Jordy Culotta Show. Get in touch with Daniel Newman. Daniel.Newman. He is our financial advisor. Let him be yours. Daniel.Newman at edwardjones.com is how you get in touch with him. Daniel can help you out with any of your financial questions that you may have. Investments, 401k, Social Security, all of those questions can be answered very easily. He's out in Central, right across from Stabs, out there in Central. If you want to stop in and see him today, Daniel.Newman at edwardjones.com. He is a hoophead. He loves basketball. And speaking of basketball, basketball tickets are on sale right now. What is this, for a charity game? For the charity game coming up, these LSU basketball tickets.
Yeah, it's LSU versus Nichols, and then all proceeds go to Hurricane Ida relief, I believe.
Yes, this is the second time that LSU has done this over the last couple of seasons, where they have traveled and gone and played in hard hit areas. And this LSU basketball team, as we have talked about just a couple of times here over the last couple of weeks, is going to be very exciting to watch. Man, it's going to be a hell of a season. To me, it's going to get you out of the football hangover pretty quickly when you're able to watch this LSU basketball team play because of just how talented they are. Just real quick, a couple of takes on them and having an opportunity to watch them practice again over the last couple of days is that this, to me, is truly, and that LSU Nichols game set for charity is on October 23rd. It's going to be in Thibodeau, and tickets are on sale now. 3,800 seat facility down there in Thibodeau. That first come, first serve, and as Lloyd said, all the proceeds go to Hurricane Ida benefits. This LSU team to me, this LSU basketball team to me, and we need to go see practice. I want to take you over there and watch that.
To go to practice.
Because I want you to see just how deep and how good this team is without having that true Trendon Watford, Tremont Waters, these high-end face of the team type guys. I agree. And this fits Will Wade perfectly.
To a T.
And not to say that, look, man, he's got another one coming in. Was it Julian Phillips, the 5-star that he hit on, that could start probably on this team today? He's that good. I mean, Wade, his staff, everybody has told me he's a one and done for sure. Like he is showing up. They are treating him like a one and done. They're coaching him like a one and done. They're only going to get 35 games out of him, and after that, he's on to the league. And that in college basketball, you got to get those guys. But every now and again, you'll have a team that is star-studded without a star.
Yep.
And LSU basketball is star-studded without a true, legitimate star on it. And for that, to me, this is the best team in October. This is the best team that Will Wade has had in his time at LSU. And he has had, I mean, we will look back at these last 5 basketball teams at some point in LSU basketball history and say, my God, look at the amount of talent that was running through Baton Rouge during that time period. And this team has a chance, in my opinion, to be the biggest accomplishers of on the court success. Like, they are built to me for March.
I agree.
This team is built for the postseason when you go watch them play. They've got true depth on this squad. Now, it's easy to say in October from a head coaching standpoint that you got depth because you really are learning your roster. You're not learning your roster. You know who your roster is, but you haven't seen them really every single day in pickup and playing. But when you go out there and you watch this team play, to me, Wade's his biggest hurdle that he's going to have to jump is that there's only one basketball.
Yeah.
And that there's only 40 minutes to distribute, because he, to me, is legitimately, now, if he decides to play Justice Williams and not redshirt him, which Justice Williams is a top 5 player in next year's recruiting cycle that they had reclassified for this year. So he's on campus now and he's practicing with the team and he's got high points, right? Like, you go out there and you're like, man, this kid can score, he can move, but he's still a little weak. You know what I mean?
He's a junior in high school.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But how about Will Wade pulling those strings to be? I don't know what rule book he has where he's like, actually, we could get him on campus, reclassify him in no red shirt. Like, what a deal.
I think that's a common thing in
Yeah.
basketball.
Yeah, but not at LSU.
Right.
No, right.
Like, for him to be able to get into that arena where he's like, look, we can get this guy on here early. He'll graduate high school early, and he'll promise me that he'll sit in red shirt. Like, for him to make that commitment to a 2-year deal.
the best recruiter in sports, I think.
Still, to me, the most gangster thing he has done at LSU is what he did with Julian Phillips. He had Julian Phillips announce. I don't know if Wade did this, but it feels like some Wade stuff here.
You know,
is that he had Phillips announce his college of choice on a Florida State run website, and Florida State and Leonard Hamilton was really the team that they wanted to beat. And if you remember, I mean, Hamilton has turned in Wade a couple of times. When he went into Florida and got Darius Days, I mean, Leonard Hamilton went through the roof. Yeah, he was like, there's no way that Wade can come in here and flip him from Florida State to LSU, or at least take Florida State out of the picture. You know, Wade just kind of sitting back, well, yeah, got him back again for his senior year. It's crazy. It's great. He's gonna be as part of the starting 5.
All right, Leonard.
And then he had the Julian kid announce on like warchant.com.
Oh, man.
And he's going to LSU, and everybody around, it's over. It's over. Like, that kid's coming to LSU. I mean, it is done.
Well, don't basketball announcements feel a lot different than football announcements do? Because it feels like once they make that commitment, it's over.
It's in.
Football, they could say, it's like, you worry about recruits in football 365 days a year. Like, it doesn't matter when they pledge or commit. You're just like, I don't care until I either see them on campus or ink on paper.
Going to be fun to watch this team play. It really is. Just when you go out there and watch them practice, you see the intensity. You see the players, but you don't see that one guy that has to have the ball every possession, that has to play with the ball in his hand, that the pro scouts told him they'd like to see him bring it up, so he got to do that. I mean, all of these guys have a position for LSU basketball, and they're going out and playing. They all have a role.
Yeah, which is huge. If everyone has a role on a team and they know their role, they're going to, and that's like the most dangerous thing you can have. Because if you have your role, right, you may have a game where you score 10, you may score 11, and other guys may be scoring, but any given day someone can drop 20 on the team. And like, it's like Kentucky. When Kentucky was, 4, 5, 6 years. I mean, now, they're still good, the talent, but
just the depth.
Yeah, it's just they all score points. And then the guys that score 8 points are first rounders.
Well, it's the Last Dance model, right? It's the Chicago Bulls where everybody knows their role and that's all they want to do. Because, like, Dennis Rodman, like, he didn't give a shit if he scored 2 points or 50. But he's like, I know I'm going to go out there and get 20 rebounds. Like, and I'm going to feed Mike every time, and I'm going to be an intimidator on the court. Like, that's my role out here. And it feels like LSU is, if you can get people to buy into not care about points or personal statistics, that's when you have a team that can play. And Will Wade feels like he's almost there with that team.
It's a very tight team, too.
Exactly.
Like, it's a very well put together, cohesive team. I mean, even guys like Efton Reed, who's got some superstar status to him, his former high school teammate and Brandon Murray is on the squad. So, I mean, it kind of brings him down to life. I mean, he kind of brings him around everybody. And, all of the things that we saw over the summer, from the paintball to the cooking to the softball games, all of that stuff that they were playing together, in building team chemistry. You see the perks of that when they're on the floor together.
And you have to do all of that to be able to get to do the away games, right? Like to get them ready for the actual trudge of the season. So you build the chemistry up, and then you test it. And then you wonder, how, you got to put them together, then rip them apart and see how they come back together again. And that's when the true, bond is formed, right?
My favorite thing about the team is, or not really about the team, but about what Will Wade does is he schedules a really hard non-conference schedule. I love that. And so it gives us the opportunity to see us play against top-notch competition. We get to go to those tournaments that all these other big schools that go to that we never really have been to. And you get to a loss at the beginning of the season against a couple of those teams is not devastating because it's a good loss, quote unquote, in the bracketology at the end of the year. And it gives you, hey, it allows you to stack up against this is where we are, right? And it's just, I just remember watching, the teams before he got there, and oh man, they're 11-1 going into conference play, and then they get their doors blown off in conference because they're playing I don't even know, the Citadel or whoever. Right. Yeah, it's just not.
Well, there are teams on this schedule early on that you look at and you think, wow, those are good games, right? Like Liberty, Belmont. Those are teams.
Always in the tournament.
What he understands well is how to exact the formula. He knows what the March Madness bracketologists are looking for when they are breaking down a schedule, and they're looking at quality of opponents and power of schedule and all of that stuff. And when you've got Belmont, you've got Liberty that you're playing, in the month of November, that's quality games for you. Then get into a tournament, over in Florida where you play teams like Oregon State, Wake Forest, Penn State, teams like that. You'll play Ohio back in Baton Rouge this season. Even a team like Lipscomb is going to bring you some type of quality points when you look at the postseason probability of LSU basketball.
These are the teams that played the style that you see in March Madness that beat highly seeded teams because exactly because of the way that they know to move the ball. They're all senior, junior laden, and they're all comfortable with chemistry with each other. And if you're not used to playing teams like that, if you're used to just being in a track meet, you can get schemed up and beat when you don't even really feel like you ever had a chance.
No doubt.
How are they still in this game in the second half and they just keep hitting threes on you, causing turnovers? You're like, we've never played a team like this before. So Will Wade does that early to know, look, you've seen it, you'll see it again.
Barrett Dodson says, what? Tough non-conference win, LOL. Barry, you have to realize that, look, I know that you're thinking tough non-conference, but when you see Georgetown, Kansas, Duke on the schedule, tough non-conference schedules are setting yourself up to play in the postseason. And LSU's head basketball coach understands the formula of what it takes from a scheduling standpoint to make sure you're relevant in March from a schedule. That you can look back on your opponents in LSU have some type of relevance when those, the people that put together the brackets are looking at LSU's schedule. And so it may not be the name recognizable squads that you want to see on the schedule. The teams that he is scheduling, the teams that LSU basketball is playing, gives them a great opportunity to go into the postseason and be successful.
And now, as the SEC is so much more talented in basketball and so much deeper in basketball that you can do that. You can play those teams. You don't have to go play the Georgetowns and the Virginias and the
Kansas,
Dukes.
Arizona.
You don't have to do all that anymore because you can go ahead and win your conference, and that's going to look really good because the SEC basketball SEC as a basketball conference now is pretty strong.
Very reputable.
They're creeping up to the top tier of. I mean, there's a ton of great coaches. Alabama's good, Arkansas's good, A&M's always solid. Florida's good. You have teams there that
Tennessee.
are Tennessee. Yeah, exactly. Auburn.
Yeah.
All these teams, their coaching staffs are really good. So it makes the league deeper, which also allows you to schedule these teams that are good, but maybe not name recognition good.
David Reed says it best. It's very strategic.
Yes.
I mean, he looks at the schedule, and it's not just, hey, can you play in November? It's, hey, we want to make sure we catch you in November. Let's get them there. Let's put him there. Let's get to a tournament right there and before we get into conference play, and give yourself the best opportunity to get the highest number next to your name when it's called this year. I mean, if you think about it, Wade has been here now for 5 seasons. and he's had a tournament team every year. I mean, he had an NIT team his first year, and after that, they've gone to the NCAA tournament. The COVID year,
they were going to be a high seed.
They were going to be in the tournament.
Right? Weren't they pretty high? Probably.
Yeah, they've been probably where they've been.
8?
Yeah, 7, 8, 9.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They'd have been right where they were last season. But last year they got Ja. Last year they got Will Wade.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Last year they are still going to take every opportunity that they can to try and go at Will Wade because of what Wade has done to the establishment. They still are pissed off at the 35-year-old at the time, now 38, coming up into their world and stirring the pot.
Yeah.
And that's just same thing happened to Calipari when he was at UMass. I mean, you can look at what happened to Calipari at UMass. He came to the party as a young, brash, good-looking guy stepping into the room and getting attention from recruits. And Krzyzewski, Bill Self, Roy Hill. I mean, not Roy Hill, Roy Williams. Roy Hill's the Yoga 90 guy.
I'm sure he was.
Good shout out.
He was shouting from the other corner, let him in.
But like Roy Williams, all the even who's my guy up at Syracuse, Jim
Boeheim.
Jim Boeheim. I mean, they're all looking around saying, no, that ain't happening, man. We've all paid our dues. We all figured out how to cheat. Now we're getting away with it. We can't let this 35-year-old in the fraternity and not pay his dues. Kick him out. Take his Final Four ring down up there at UMass. That didn't exist because of what happened with Marcus Camby. Just because Camby had Duke and North Carolina as a finalist and he goes to UMass, next thing you know, they're taking down banners of the UMass arena because of what Calipari accomplished. I mean, it's the same exact thing that happened during that. Those guys, the old guard, got pissed off.
Literally.
Really. I mean, look at Roy Williams and look at Krzyzewski. They're like, you know what? I'm tapping out.
I mean, my thing is just like, do you think that these guys that are premier recruits that aren't going to your school and they're going to go to UMass, and then you want to say, let's not even say UMass. Let's just say whatever other school, LSU. You say, this guy went to LSU over Duke because LSU paid him. You think that this kid was just going to go to Duke for free? Like if there's paying
Mike,
come on, give me a break.
They got
dude.
Zion's stepdad on recorded lines with Kansas, listening to a $225,000 offer.
Right.
You think that guy gives a damn about Duke basketball?
That's my point.
You know what I mean?
That's my point. Like this guy's, I'm not going to go to Kansas. I'm just going to go to Duke. Kansas
for the
money.
love of the brotherhood.
I love Duke so much and Coach K so much. I'm going to go and play there. And I don't need a dime. Give me a break.
Yeah, a break, man. Exactly.
Get off that.
That's my deal with Vital. You know what I mean? It's easy to look in Baton Rouge. How is that happening? What? It's the same way it's happening in Durham.
Yeah.
You know, it's the same thing that's going on in Lexington,
Kansas.
in Chapel Hill, in Lawrence,
Arizona.
Kansas. It's the same thing. George the Greek. How long will LSU have Will Wade? George, they better extend him now.
Yep.
They better extend him now because if this team goes through the season, has success, he's already showed you that he can raid the transfer portal and he can recruit the portal. I saw Jeff Goodman interview with Will Wade 2 days ago where Goodman called him, just the assassin of the portal. He has got a reputation for being able to manage and that's the way of college basketball now.
Hold on. That's from this show. I coined that phrase.
Assassin of the portal?
I coined that phrase.
Okay.
So Jeff. Royalties will be nice. That's all
that's
that.
right. But in today's college basketball world, you better be able to do that.
Yep.
You better be able to master that part of the recruiting because as Wade explained to Goodman, look, today's formula of college basketball is a talented group of freshmen with an experienced, talented group of transfers. And that's how you build the team, and that's what LSU basketball is now.
Look at what Will Wade has done in the portal, and look at the two new coaches that LSU has brought in. Kim Mulkey raided the portal and brought them with him, and Jay Johnson has probably done more than anybody through the portal, bringing in what looks like to be a top 5 pick in the Major League Baseball draft.
Our best football player of all time came from the portal.
Yeah.
Right. Well, that's what I'm saying. When to pivot this back to football, when Woodward, whoever he brings in, you should expect a heavy dose of a couple of players that he's going to be able to tag along and bring with him to LSU, right? I mean, that's not a far leap to make.
Well, whoever's next is going to have to raid the portal for offensive linemen, no doubt.
I will say this: is this go back and think about new athletic directors? When did Woodward get here?
2019.
Okay, so 2019, right? So he got here that year. What athletic director in recent memory has been able to make the hires within his first year, 2 years of being. He's hired the best women's basketball coach out there. He hired one of the most highly touted baseball coaches for one of the best, probably best baseball program in the country, and he's going to be able to hire a football coach all within 1 year of each other.
I really think he's the best athletic director in
Holy
sports
crap,
right now.
man.
I think Oklahoma's Joe Castiglione is probably
You got a little bias there.
wave the flag. But I mean, look at his hires.
Yeah.
I mean, that guy's made some tremendous hires along the way. I mean, he just brought down Illinois' coach to coach the basketball team down there in Oklahoma. He's hired a lot of great guys. Lincoln Riley replacing Bob Stoops. I mean, the gymnastics coach is great. The basketball coach is great. The women's basketball if you look at Oklahoma's overall athletic program, it is run it's very, very
Trying to win the Capital One Cup. Where
absolutely.
You got hands in every pot.
I mean,
It's
but
the best overall program.
These three coaches that he hires, the last three coaches at LSU, could all win national championships in their respective sports.
No doubt about it.
doubt.
No doubt.
How
and
crazy
I think,
is that?
And I think he looks at this football gig as the royal seat to all of that. So if you think about that, he's got Kim Mulkey sitting in the women's basketball chair. He's got Jay Johnson sitting in the baseball chair. He looks at this football seat and says, that is the king's chair, because that is where all of the money is going to come in, and that's where all of the money is going to trickle down. So you got to make sure that you got that seat right.
And that's what he'll be tied to forever.
Yes.
He'll be tied to that hire for the rest of his career.
Do you think he feels that pressure at all?
100%.
Or does he just stick to his exact
it's not pressure.
formula?
I think he loves it.
It's not pressure. He loves it. He loves it. I'm with him.
Yeah.
I'm with Mikey on this. I think that when he got here, he first time in 2000 to 2004, when he saw Saban and he made his mind up, I want to be a college administrator. I want to be in college athletics. I want to pursue this. I want to do this for my career. And he leaves LSU, goes to Washington, hires Chris Peterson, takes the Texas A&M job, hires Buzz Williams, hires Jimbo Fisher, gets back to LSU. In the back of his head, throughout all of those stops, to Washington, to College Station, he knew his aspirations were to get back to Baton Rouge. He saw how big of a dumpster fire Joe Oliva had the athletic program on while he was here. He knew in the back of his head, I'm going to get my shot. And when I get my shot, at some point when I get down there, I'm going to have to hire a football coach. And that is going to be my legacy. That is going to be what they remember me on. That is going to what sets up LSU to be successful from an athletic standpoint deep into wherever I leave and wherever I go. As long as I get that spot right, it'll be all good. Because if he fails at this hire, nobody's going to talk about Kim Mulkey.
Right.
Nobody's going to talk about Jay Johnson. Everybody's going to start the conversation on Scott Woodward. He flubbed the football hire.
Yep.
And he knows that. He knows that more than anybody because he's from here, he's worked here, he's left here, and he's come back here. So he knows that it's not like this everywhere else, and there's a lot of pressure on, from the community on that LSU football program.
And he realizes that, but we call Woodward a big game hunter around here. There's no real big game out there, is what I'm saying. He's going to have to make almost.
He can make the big game.
Yeah, but
right.
he's.
I know he could be a kingmaker.
Yep.
In terms of that, but there's no actual name that you could say, look, Woodward's going to go get him. That's usually how he operates.
But I think that's better. I think that
to let
better
him
for
operate
him.
in the shadows.
Let him go do. Nobody has a name that nobody can pinpoint. Oh, this is the guy. Like the Todd Herman. You saw how Todd Herman turned out in Texas. Everybody wanted Todd Herman here. Everybody wanted Jimbo. I like Jimbo, but I agree. I think that not having a big name out there allows him to
anoint one,
do what he wants to do. Because he doesn't dude, baseball. There's two coaches that everybody wanted him to hire. He didn't hire either one. I don't even know if he really considered them.
I know. And that's why I'm wondering if we're over here just throwing names out to the wind, and he's probably sitting back being like, "Dude, you're crazy."
He already I think deep down, he has his list. I agree. He already knows.
I think he's got his guy.
He may even have his guy. He may. He hired Kim Mulkey Robinson one day after the coach left. I know he already. He obviously already had her. He's smart. He leaked the Casey thing with baseball.
Yep.
Hey, let me get a feel for this. Let me get just a little fake out.
Oh, yeah, it's the Kansas City shuffle.
Yeah,
everybody look left, I'm going right.
Everybody threw their up alarm to distract you, and then, hey, this is what we're going to do. We got this guy.
All right, we will talk to the Brody Miller from The Athletic next here on the Jordy Culotta Show. We'll get the latest from his standpoint. He had a great sit-down with Eli Ricks' mother, and so we'll ask him the state of where the Ricks are here as they go through the process of surgery and off-season surgery and coming back and where their head is. So we'll talk to Brody Miller next here on the Jordy Culotta Show. Remember, Daily, we're brought to you by Falaya Real Estate, online at falaya.com. Get in touch with Falaya at falaya.com. All you got to do is download the app inside your Apple or Google stores today. Log on to falaya.com to learn how real estate is being bought and sold here in the capital city. Brandon Hollingsworth was asking for a link to that Will Wade interview with Jeff Goodman. I just posted it inside of the Bunker Chat app if you want to catch it there. It's a great sit-down with Goodman and Wade. Runs about 30 minutes, and Wade goes in-depth on his squad. Yeah, he gets a really good conversation out of Wade. We will be back with Brody Miller next here on the Jordy Culotta Show.
All right, JBoy.
True Blue Water, true hydration at its finest. Right now, you're only a few minutes away from getting your 5-gallon water delivered to you, just like we are over here at the UDL. All you got to do is log on to truebluewater.com. That's TRU, bluewater.com. The website's fantastic over at truebluewater.com. You can get your service and find out how quick it is. You can schedule a delivery, even hop on the billing system right there at truebluewater.com. TRU, bluewater.com. Papa Earl's, the fine spice, originating right down here in South Louisiana by our guy Mark Pop Norman. Developed it back in 2018 and won Amazon's Newcomer of the Year in 2019. They pride themselves in having 30% less salt and sodium than the leading brands at the same price point. You can find them locally. Look for Papa Earl's at Rouse's, Calandro's, Mathern's, High Neighbor, and more. Gearing up for spring and summer down here in South Louisiana, and you want to keep your lawn maintained during these sunny seasons, get in touch with our friend Blake Abear over at Abear's Lawn Maintenance, where he says, you grow it, I mow it. 225-485-8022. 225-485-8022 is where you can find Abear's Lawn and Maintenance, the official lawn and maintenance company of the undisclosed location. Welcome back here to the Jordy Culotta Show. Mikey Motuk live with us here on the set. Go Chevrolet, driving and empowering us every single day. We're a little late getting to our next guest. We appreciate him being patient with us. Brody Miller, who does excellent work over at The Athletic, had a great sit-down yesterday and a great write-up with Eli Ricks, Shauna Ricks, his mother, on some really exclusive content. If you're not having a chance to read it, check it out. It's over at The Athletic. Make sure you subscribe there. Follow Brody Miller. He's on Twitter at Brody A. Miller. He's with us every week. Good morning, man. How are you?
I'm doing all right. How are you guys doing? Thanks for having me.
Absolutely, man. Great sit down with Rick's mother yesterday, Shauna. She's got a great personality. She is very vocal and has been about Eli and her other son since they have been very small and going through the recruiting process. What did you learn yesterday in your conversation?
Yeah, I think when the news of Eli Ricks going down for the season came out, I think it was understandable, quite frankly, for a lot of people to have a lot of questions and concerns about, is this an opt-out? Is he about to leave LSU? Because, he's somebody who, quite frankly, we all heard those rumors all winter of him possibly entering the portal on any day, and those were just rumors. The LSU staff thought that, and, things like that. So when this happened, I understand a lot of people thinking that, but Shauna Ricks was very quick to point out that this is not what that was. And obviously, just to detail it, he's basically been playing off and on with torn labrums since his junior year of high school, played his whole senior year of high school with the torn labrum and IMG and still played really well. And I didn't even know this at the time, but he also played the Florida game last year when he had a pick six with the injury re-aggravated and had that black tape on his shoulder. And then even played the last two games hurt, which, that's just providing context that he's a guy who has played injured most of his career, so I don't think he necessarily minds that. But I think she noticed him basically unable to make some tackles last game and kind of unable to lift his arms. So they, decided it was time to get that surgery. And again, do I think anything's ever 100% black and white? Probably not. Of course, there's probably, and she wouldn't say this is me speculating. Of course, there's probably a little bit factored in there of, hey, this season's kind of going off the rails, and hey, his huge draft-eligible junior year's coming up. I'm sure that does factor in, but, I do think he is genuinely injured, and yeah, I think the important thing that fans wanted to hear was that they are not planning on leaving. And obviously, most people won't believe it until they see him in a jersey next fall, but they pointed out they own a home in Baton Rouge. They don't rent. They moved here. Their family's from Hammond, and they don't want to go back to California or anything like that. And they have a 14-year-old son here who they are not moving out of Louisiana no matter what. So they are pretty adamant that they're going to stay at LSU and they want to develop at TBU. And I don't know if that did, put people's suspicions aside, but at least you have from the person himself.
This could not have come at a worse time for LSU football, Ed Ogeron and crew, right?
Yeah, of course. That's obviously the most important thing. It is. Everything had been going wrong for weeks now. So, but something about the Butte and Ricks one, it just felt like everything. It was the official moment that this is just off the rails at a level that is just kind of unsalvageable, unfortunately. Where, LSU is in reality without its three best players. I think you can make an argument it's without 7 of its 10 best players. I mean, it's kind of wild the compilation of injuries you have. So now you're going in, and they haven't even started the hardest part of their schedule yet. It starts this week. I mean, it's kind of mind blowing where they are now. It's quote unquote DBU, and you were shuffling guys around a corner just to have a roster and whatnot. I think it's pretty wild. So yeah, this injury is officially, I think, the moment for me where I'm just like, everything that can go wrong is.
What do you expect on Saturday morning? Atmosphere, execution, play on the field. What are you anticipating this Saturday in covering LSU?
Yeah, I mean, it's LSU, so you can always surprise me, but I think
right.
but I expect a relatively weak crowd for LSU. And I've talked to people in the program that are worried about a 50-60% crowd. And again, we'll see what happens. I'm not an expert in that field, but there's a lot of expectation for it to be a rough crowd, especially combined with it being an 11 a.m. game and all the context surrounding it. And yeah, I think, there's always the thing of it's one thing when you're losing, it's another thing when there's fan apathy, and I think that's got to be the biggest concern in that LSU administration building.
Brody Miller joining us here from The Athletic, talking and catching us up on LSU football. Remember, follow him on Twitter at Brody A. Miller. The offensive line got a good compliment last night from Ed Ogeron. I know that he's saying the right things, and he's on his call-in radio show where he is spreading a positive message. But Lloyd and I and Mikey and I were talking before you came on, and it looks like Brad Davis has had an opportunity to really kind of implement some of his techniques, principles, coaching. Is there a sign for better play on the front of the offensive line, in your opinion?
Yeah, and of course there's going to be caveats of, let's not overreact. But, no, I mean, credit where it's due, considering just how, again, mind-bogglingly poor it played for 5 weeks. And, again, I just had never seen LSU line struggle like that. Considering that, yeah, you have to give credit when they step up the way they did. And I think you have to obviously lead a little bit with Cam Wire finally being back to himself and able to get the overwhelming majority of those snaps at left tackle. I mean, I think it made a difference. At least I personally saw a real difference there. I think that means something. And I think you're right. I do think you're seeing Brad Davis' work there kind of, slowly. I'm not saying Brad Davis is a miracle worker or anything, sure, but I think you have to give him credit. So, yeah, I do think there's reason for optimism there. Am I going to point to it as a strength or anything like that? Of course not. But I think it's a very positive sign. And even if it's not even you're saying it's a strength, there's at least the fact of reality that against Auburn, they didn't even have the confidence to run in basically a three-man box because of how troubled things were. And at least Kentucky, I know it was late in the game and there's some other context there, but they were able to run in light boxes, and that's something. That is something that can open things up, and it's going to be so important considering the passing game options are weakened.
With the injuries to all of the cornerbacks, it inserts a place for Sage Ryan, somebody that's been talked about a lot around the LSU program. It's kind of like a white buffalo where we haven't really seen it yet, but people are excited to see. What do you know about him, and how can he, do you think he has a chance to impact the game in a position that just even inserted as a nickel?
Yeah, and I guess you're saying they've been practicing with him at the nickel and Cordell Flott moving back outside, which, again, I think is the best solution you have because, unfortunately, other weeks you might be saying, let's move Jay Ward back to corner, but we don't even have Major Burns, so you don't even have the flexibility to do that, really. But, yeah, I think Sage Ryan is obviously a special talent who I think a lot of people, when he was coming in, really thought that guy's going to be a superstar here. And, again, I still think he is. I think he's going to probably get the start there. I've gathered just from practices, he'll make some mistakes, he'll miss some things and stuff like that where he'll make some busts, but again, he's a true freshman, also just coming off a long injury. That's not me criticizing him. It's more just kind of saying here are the expectations for a true freshman making his first real playing time. But that is not me. But at the same time, he is a special talent. I'm sure he's going to do some good stuff. And when you're in the situation LSU is in, you kind of have no choice but to choose upside over, because it's like picking a not very good player there just because they're more prepared isn't really an option when you're about to play Florida, Ole Miss, Bama, etc. So, yeah, I think Sage Ryan's definitely moved there, and I'm really interested to see how ready he is because, he is just coming off an injury.
We talked a lot about Andre Anthony and obviously he's not able to be able to play with the team, but he calls his own team meeting. What have you seen in his ability to kind of be a leader from the sidelines whenever he's still has the cachet with LSU to call a team meeting and people respond? And it seemed like it was positive news, which is something that you don't always get from a team meeting with an LSU.
Yeah, it's a good point. I mean, I won't. This is only my fourth season covering LSU, but even in that time, I've seen some leaders
He's
who
been
get
here
a lot
longer
of
than you.
Shoot, damn, that's a good point. But I've seen a lot of leaders who get a lot of acclaim for being leaders who aren't really leaders, and no one really wants to follow them. And I've seen some really great ones. And hey, credit Andre Anthony, I think is a guy who really is a leader who people actually just love and respect and actually want to listen to. And I think that's something. So, and by the way, I think Devon Clark is that too, for what it's worth. But yeah, so I think it's just kind of cool to see a guy who has very little reason to still keep doing this, to still really be putting that effort in. But, like you said, he's been here longer than me. He cares about this university. So, I don't know. I just think you got to appreciate that when you find it.
Brody, I got to imagine your story earlier this week, the night the dam broke for Ed Ogeron, was like wildfire on the internet. I know I couldn't wait to click on it as soon as it was published. What is it like covering Ed Ogeron and LSU football these days?
Yeah, it's tough. I think a lot of it is, I'm trying to think how to put this. It's a weird existence because we all know where this is unfortunately heading right now. And I think a lot of the hardest thing of covering all this is kind of putting everything into context. And I know, you and I might not disagree on every little part of these last 4 years, but I always view this as I think Ed Orgeron earned that national title. I'm actually a believer in that. I think he did a lot of really, sound strategic things, fixed a lot of issues from the Miles era, culturally and practice-wise, earned it. And I think what's so fascinating is how it's not really a story of Ed Orgeron was always, suspect or all that. I personally view it as a story of just a slow whittling away of all the things that made them great. And I think that's kind of what happened these 2 years. And there are a lot of reasons for that personally and on the field too. But I think that's what's made it so weird to follow, is just watching a program where, I don't know, you just had so many. I mean, it's weird for me. I've only covered Ed Orgeron at LSU, so I only know how to cover this to some extent. Now you're just seeing everything around it just different. The way people are talking to you is just kind of different. The way, the confidence in trying to fix things is just kind of different. And it's just a weird tone right now. But a lot of it is kind of right now for me is preparing for the next few weeks.
What do you anticipate that to be like? I mean, I know we were all speculating on whether he's going to finish the year. Does it happen within the year? Does he get a chance to try and write this thing? What is your anticipation on how this thing plays out?
Yeah, and I'll be the first to admit, I think that's been the one thing in this process that I've really struggled with kind of nailing down is Scott Woodward's thinking on something like this. And I don't really have I think there's a part of my head that thinks it will be when they see fan apathy this weekend. And, I always go back to Andy Staples', well put line back during the Florida State Willie Taggart firing, when it's not about when you can afford to pay the buyout. It's about when you can't afford not to, when it comes to losing fan interest and whatnot. And, I think that's one theory. But I think a lot of people around the program wonder if it's going to be the bye week when, whoever the interim coach might be has 2 weeks to kind of get things in order and, and do that. But again, just going back to, and I know a million people have said this, but Scott Woodward doesn't really fire people in season. He doesn't really fire people until the next move is 100% lined up. So that's a couched answer, but the honest truth is it's a hard man to really completely know what he's going to do. And I think all three of those are really best possible solutions.
Has anything popped out in covering the program on the changes of the culture overhaul in 19 to where they are now? Because to me, if I was to define, or if somebody asked me, give me one term of the issue for LSU football, I would say culture. And I agree with you wholeheartedly. 2019 felt as if they were an NFL team. They were running at such a high level.
Yeah. No, it's. I think that's the fundamental thing too. I think there's a little bit of. I think Ed Orgeron's had distractions these last 2 years, and I think that might have been I think that kind of chips away at things, and I think I always start everything with this by saying I think there's almost. I have a story coming out eventually where one person says, if 2019 was a perfect storm of everything going right, everything these last 2 years has also been a perfect storm of everything going wrong. And there's absolutely some truth to that.
There is.
That's not to take blame away from Ed Orgeron. That's just valid. And I think what you see with the culture is, okay, 2019 was this group, a lot of guys from that 2017 class. They really focused on character. They had a bunch of juniors and seniors who not just were the star players, but were the grinders, the guys who would hold somebody else accountable if they messed up. And, I think you talk to multiple people in the program and they'll say practice is just different now. It's Orgeron's tenser than he used to be, I think. And then, you talk to people who say, there's no Devin White or Lloyd Cushenberry or Clyde or Patrick Queen, and the list goes on and on from those past rosters who will really hold everyone accountable and say, get your, stuff together, because, you can't slack like that. They have good guys who are good leaders, but I don't think they have those stars who are also the guys who are going to do that. And I think that's a pretty real thing. I think Zach Von Rosenberg talked about that at length at a press conference last year, but I think that's real. And I think that's a big part of it. And it's tough because a lot of their best players these last, lately are freshmen and sophomores. And maybe the kind of freshmen and sophomores who aren't exactly the I am going to speak at, call everyone out type, And then on top of that, and someone pointed out a good point to me, even looking back to 2020, even that was kind of tough because Jamar Chase opts out right before the season. Well, that's 8 months of first-team reps that didn't go to a younger guy who's about to get thrown into it. And same with Terrace Marshall, and same with Tyler Shelvin. And I know that's a small thing, but I even think there's a validity to that where it's oh, shoot, now you just lost your leaders, and now the guys stepping up don't even have those reps. And I just think there's a lot of that where they just don't have the infrastructure, I think, of leadership.
Brody Miller, you can hear him weekly here on the Jordy Culotta Show. You need to follow him on Twitter at Brody A. Miller. Make sure and subscribe to The Athletic if you have not already done so, and hit those notifications for your LSU news, as Brody is on the beat there for The Athletic, covering LSU and does a great job and has been for the last 4 seasons. Thank you for the insight, man. We'll see you Saturday morning.
Thanks as always, guys. Take care.
All right, there he is. Brody Miller checking in this morning, talking a little bit about the culture issues.
Kind of gave a nice
LSU.
insight into what's going on over there. Just even from somebody that's around the building more than we are, obviously, you can just feel like the seismic shift that's happening, how uneasy it feels over there.
Well, I just think there's more, and there's more he wanted to say that I don't think he could say. You know, like
that's what I'm saying. You could feel it. You could feel how he's like.
You just hear it in his voice.
Especially if hell of a tease on the upcoming story he has, because I want to know how long that's going to be a long form read, I would imagine.
Have you read the night that the
Yes.
dam broke on Ed? I mean, that's
That's the tip of the spear that probably caused him to deep dive a little bit more into it. I mean, if that's a writer's dream, I guess. If you want to go. If you're a middling team that's not going to fire your coach, then you just write ho-hum articles. But if you're at the top of the mountain in 2019, those are the best articles to write. But these juicy 2021 ones, also, I'd imagine he's very ingrained with what's going on and getting a lot of quotes. So subscribe to The Athletic for that next one coming out.
RMB Builders, remember Rhett Bourgeois and his crew, rmb-builders.com. If you need a custom-built house, if you need a overhauled project, if you just need handiwork done around the house, get in touch with RMB Builders, rmb-builders.com. Rhett Bourgeois and his crew, rmb-builders.com. Jake Crane from the JBoy Show will stop by next year. We'll talk some SEC football with JBoy and get his thoughts on the weekend ahead. Florida LSU, Kentucky traveling into Athens to take on Georgia. We asked Josh Pate earlier this week, can Georgia compete? He just flatly said no. We'll ask him, we will talk to JBoy and see what he thinks coming up here.
How many canned jokes do you think he has? These one-liners that he throws out. There's no way they're not predetermined.
3.
3? How many are about Hogwarts? 1.5?
Over, under, yeah, I'll go over there. JBoy, Jake Crane next here on the Jordy Culotta Show, driven and powered by Go Chevrolet. Go Chevrolet is proud to announce Go Express Auto Sales, the new used car lot located in the capital city of Baton Rouge, Louisiana, at 11522 Florida Boulevard. Go Express Auto Sales is online at goexpressautosales.com, or you can search them on Facebook and social media at Go Express Auto Sales, the newest addition to the family of Go Chevrolet. Remember, Go Chevrolet is located down in Laplace, Louisiana, but now welcoming aboard Go Express, the new used car lot located in Baton Rouge, Louisiana at 11522 Florida Boulevard. Welcome back here to the Jordy Culotta Show, driven and powered by Go Chevrolet. Let's jump into our next conversation with one of our favorites, Jake Crane from the JBoy Show. You have seen his brand, his show, Volume Sports, all blow up here within the college football season. Make sure you are following the JBoy Show all over social media. They've got a YouTube channel as well that they're pumping content out on. Make sure and get on him at the JBoy Show. He is with us back here on the Jordy Culotta Show. Good morning. How are you, sir?
Man, what's up? Doing great. Appreciate y'all having me back.
Always, man. From somebody who covers the sport, you're in Atlanta. You're at the College Football Hall of Fame every day. What is your perspective of LSU football as Ed Ogeron announced last night on his radio show that they had their best Monday practice, they had their best week of practice, the offensive line's coming together. But then he also announced that they had a team meeting with players only. Team meeting last night. Where is your head on the state of LSU football right now?
I think it's a matter of when, not if, with Ed Ogeron, to be honest with you. Look, they can have their best Monday practice and all this, but without Butte, Rick, Stingley, and the band that they need out there, it doesn't matter really how well they practice, even though obviously I'm a big practice guy, being a guy that was a former coach. To me, you got to move on. It needs to be done. And to be honest with you, from somebody that I trust very, very much, that may or may not be coming on the show today, I think Lane Kiffin's a legitimate possibility for LSU.
Woo!
I love to hear that.
Woo! What a plug.
When you say legitimate possibility, do you mean like done deal?
Look, it's not.
That's who I want. I'm just saying.
First question, Lane.
Involved. Anytime Jimmy Sexton's involved,
yes.
You got to wait and see it, because if you think that, Greg Sankey's the commissioner of the SEC, you hadn't met Jimmy Sexton.
That's right.
But from what and listen, you'll have people say James Franklin. I just don't see. I don't see that fit. He's from Pennsylvania. I don't see it. What I think you're going to end up seeing, because people forget, LSU made a run at Lane to be the OC before he took the FSU job. Like a lot of
Saban blocked that, didn't he? Didn't Saban roadblock that?
A little bit, yes. A little bit, yes. Because again, it all runs through the Nick Saban Rehabilitation Center for coaches and guys who want to be good at life too, down there at Alabama. But I think there's a legitimate chance that Lane Kiffin is the number one target, and I think there's some mutual interest there. And what I think, if that were to happen, what you would see happen is Lane would go to LSU. I think they'd make a run at Barry Odom at D.C., and then Jeff would probably get the Ole Miss job. So that's kind of – and again, it's going to be very, very early in the process. Look, Edo's cooked, all right?
For sure.
That goose is cooked. It's a matter of when, not if. It may happen after Florida goes down there and runs for about 350. So
you think it's middle of the season, or you think he finishes the year?
Well, to me, you can only take the negative press so far, and it's not going to get better. I mean, Edo's not going to turn into Elvis Presley at the press conference. It's not. I just don't see it. The personnel that they have right now that they've lost, or that they actually don't have right now that they've lost to injury or whatever. I don't think they win another FBS game this year.
Wow. No, I'm with you. I'm with you. Who is Florida? Tell me a little bit about Florida's team coming down here. LSU is playing with a very depleted roster. This is a great opportunity. Florida's favored by 11 in this game. That doesn't feel like enough, right?
Got it 9.5 when it came out on the sharp story.
Good for you.
We throw the sharp out on Monday, and I was sharp shooting this one like Wahlberg and Shooter, man.
One.
But here's who Florida is. Florida's a team that's going to come down, and offensively, Emory Jones is a good thrower. I don't think he's as good of a thrower as what KJ Jefferson is. He's not going to beat you out throwing you. Where they're going to beat you is the quarterback run game, which makes it truly 11 on 11. That offensive line's got a lot of confidence, especially after Alabama. They're going to kind of grind you out and then take their shots offensively. Defensively, they're better than they were last year. They were terrible last year. I think the pass rush is going to give LSU hell. That's the part that I think is going to separate the game. And the thing about Florida is they're one of those teams, similar to what A&M was last year. They're not as good as A&M was last year, but once they get up on you, especially double digits, they're just going to be like a python and squeeze you to death in the run game in the third and fourth quarter and just bleed the clock. So it's almost like playing keep away. So I expect Florida to go down there, understand that LSU's one-dimensional. It is what it is. And I think the Gators win by 13 or more.
Maybe Coach O was talking about the run game, though. What are you talking about?
Say it again.
Coach O was talking about how good our run game was last week. What do you mean we're one-dimensional?
Hey, well, it's amazing. You run gap scheme, and you guys are like the damn the Buccaneers.
Like, I forgot everything else but the run game last week.
Yeah, it's like, hey, Coach, maybe we should run some more gap scheme because we're pretty good at it.
What you say, JBoy?
Yeah, that's exactly right.
I have to get your staff. Coach, former coach. But when you look at what Kentucky did against LSU, how do you not line up and look at Florida and be like, are they not just going to do the exact same thing? If you're an LSU fan, where do you find any optimism after Kentucky was able to run quarterback power? They made him look like he was Taysom Hill 2.0 out there. Now you bring in Emory Jones where Dan Mullen has completely reversed what Florida did last year and turned him to one of the most dominant rushing teams of the year, and it's one of the biggest switches from a pass-heavy offense to being able to be one of the top 10 rushing teams in the country. If you're an LSU fan, where do you find an answer?
Look, some LSU fans aren't going to like this, but I think you're entering the territory of the who do I root for game.
Right.
I think the best thing that could happen to LSU is for Florida to go down there and win 45-0. Like, to be honest with you,
I agree.
Just for the future. And I hate to say that, and you'll have LSU fans that are like, "Never! I swear, I'll never do it."
Right.
But I promise, I just don't see a world in where if you can't stop Kentucky consistently, and that's not taking anything away from Kentucky, because Mark Stoops has done an unbelievable job there building that thing from the inside out. But if you can't stop Kentucky's run, you're sure not stopping Florida's run. And Florida's a lot more multiple in what they do from a run game standpoint. They have a little bit more in the kitchen because they have to make up for what is really a non-existent passing game.
JBoy, Jake Crane joining us here on the Jordy Culotta Show. Make sure and follow him at the JBoy Show. Your girlfriend's from Bama, right?
Yeah, she is.
What's this week been like living with a Tide fan?
Well, I talked about on the show yesterday, like, we hadn't been dating through a football season. Oh. So I haven't seen her when Bama's losing. And
aren't they so obnoxious, bro?
Yeah, how was that?
Well, it's like,
watch yourself. I know what you mean. I didn't mean to set you up.
No, it's like look, and I do got to give T-Bizzle credit here. It is like the Soviet Union. I mean, it's like either perfection or fire everybody. It's like, if you've ever seen The Death of Stalin, when they're coaching the hockey team after the plane crashed and the first team all died, and the guy's talking about the plane crash, and he's like, Soviet Union planes don't crash. Like, they just, after the first quarter, she wanted to fire everybody.
Chernobyl's not real.
I looked at her and I was like, you know what? Like, I just can't wait until you just come back down to earth. And it's 9-3, and God forbid an 8-4. If there was an 8-4, they may secede from the Union in Tuscaloosa. I don't know what would happen.
So good. Other games this weekend we are looking at in the SEC. Kentucky at Georgia. Can Kentucky compete here?
Look, the pregame is going to be awesome. Game day is going to be there. It's house money for Kentucky. It really is. But no, I'll be shocked if they scored 14. It's Georgia to me and everybody else, which is a lot better than what we've kind of been used to, especially with the narratives that we've had with the playoff. But no, I just don't think Kentucky's going to be able to run the ball, and there's not enough bananas with peels on them in the world to get Will Levis out of the situation when the Georgia guys are chasing them. And they're just not efficient enough in the pass game to keep Georgia honest. I really believe this is going to be like a 41-7 game.
Doesn't it feel like it's the Arkansas game all over again, wherever you know what Kentucky does well, and it runs right into the teeth of what Georgia has pretty much been dominant at, maybe the best we've seen in the last 10 years?
No, you're exactly right. I mean, they got Jordan Davis, who I still believe is like three people stapled together. They're just not telling us about it.
He's actually number 999.
Yeah, that's true. Well, they're actually playing with 13. That's why they're so good. People don't realize. Yeah, I mean, it's very similar down that path. And it's not a shot at Kentucky. I said the same thing with Arkansas. You guys are playing with house money. I mean, just go up there, and sometimes that makes you dangerous. but physics is physics, guys. I just don't see a world in where Kentucky, especially because the worst part about playing Georgia is if you're lucky enough to move it in between the 20s into the red zone, then what do you do? What do you do in the red zone? You can't use Waze. You can't use Google Maps. There's not an answer to what to do down in the red zone. Auburn actually caught him sleeping on a little switch route the first drive last week. But of course, Auburn receivers couldn't catch a cold in an igloo, so they weren't able to take advantage of it. But no, I just don't think Kentucky's going to be able to score points. I think all the momentum's there with Stetson Bennett and Ladd McConkey, which I'm going to start referring to as the law firm. So no, it's
Jarvis Green Ellis.
How big was that for Texas A&M last weekend? What does that do for them?
It's kind of like on Dumb and Dumber when he sells the dog van for the scooter because it gets more.
That's right.
Me on the road.
Just when I thought you couldn't do anything dumber.
Yeah, you totally redeemed yourself. Yeah, well, all the A&M fans that have been in hiding have been talking to me all week, man. The chat in our show, they've come out of their hibernation. But look, it was big for Jimbo. They needed that. Will they be able to get up like that for the rest of the season? I don't know. Are they going to be able to win out? I don't think so. But after all the hype coming into this year, and I feel good for Calzada. I really do. The kid been under a lot of pressure. He's out there passing out donuts 2 days before the game, and I just wonder what was going through his mind. But it's good for them. They were able to run the ball a little bit, keep Alabama honest. But look, guys, Alabama's front seven on defense, and especially the inside linebackers, are not the typical Bama. I'm watching the Henry To'oTo'o kid from Tennessee, and he's not one of them. He's not Dante Hightower. He's not Rolando McClain. He's not Reggie Ragland. Some of these guys that they just prayed every night that the hole opened up and it was you and them. And once it was, they were going to knock your head through your throat.
Tennessee, any chance this weekend with Lane returning to Knoxville?
There's a shot. Ole Miss's defense, is still very, very average. My question for Tennessee is that the first quarter and a half is more important to Tennessee than any other team in the country. And it's not even close. When you run that style of offense, if you come out, you go 3 and out 3 times, if you come out and you score 7 points in the first half, they don't have enough depth on defense to be able to sit there and say. That's why you see whenever Tennessee's played a good team, they've struggled in the second half, especially on defense. You look at the Florida game's a great example. Pitt came in there. That's a great example. So it's good that they've played well. They've looked good against Missouri. They've looked good against South Carolina. But I'm right next to a high school in Georgia that I think could look pretty good against Missouri right now, especially against that front seven on defense. That they couldn't stop anybody right now. So I think they have a shot. I still like Ole Miss. That over-under is ridiculous. I think it was at 81.5 the last time I saw it. You want to know what else is funny? You really want to know what's funny? So somebody asked me yesterday about Georgia and Kentucky and what you think, what you'd have thought if somebody told you a couple years ago that Georgia and Kentucky were playing on College game day. And my answer was, man, Tom Crean really turned that program around.
It was like an LSU fan who was in Kentucky last weekend, and the Kentucky fan was talking shit to him, and he goes, wait till basketball season. The LSU fan said, wait till basketball season.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I thought it was funny. You'd have never told me in a million years that Kentucky would consider LSU a sandwich game in football. I was like, if that doesn't tell you Edo needs to go, I don't know what else does.
Enjoy the weekend. Enjoy the day. Thank you for the knowledge as always, man.
Hey, appreciate you having me on, Jordy. Y'all have a good day.
All right, buddy. There he is. JBoy.
All right, JBoy. All right, JBoy.
Jake Crane from the JBoy show. I'm glad that you kept his picture on while he was talking because my computer was raising straight up when he mentioned Lane Kiffin and Barry Odom.
It's 6 to midnight. I
What
gotta
a
tuck this
combo.
thing
What
up.
a combo.
Lord.
What a combo.
That's what I'm talking about. That type of hire, LSU is back overnight.
And no recruits leave.
No recruits leave.
No, actually,
you're selling
recruits are
message.
coming
Yeah,
more.
you're paying more attention.
Yeah.
Jacoby Matthews is paying attention. Quincy Wiggins, who is announced here on the Instagram. Did you see this? He
Yes.
is just about ready to make his announcements. He is an early signee. He will be on campus wherever he commits to
It's just a matter of what sideline
on Christmas Day. So this time is starting to really crunch on some of these early enrollees. And if a combination of Lane Kiffin and Barry Odom is a possibility in Baton Rouge, I mean, fire him tonight.
Look, I'm with you. But have we not learned anything that Scott Woodward has done in the past?
Yes.
Where the first name you hear is never the answer.
Yeah, but that's not coming from LSU people, though.
And remember where he was on Lane to LSU a couple of weeks back when we were saying, look, they were saying, look, it looks like Edo's not going to make it through the year. It wasn't as definitive as it is now.
He was on Cristobal.
He was on Mario Cristobal. That's what I'm saying. So I mean, to see the temperature that has changed with him, he must know something. I mean, he must be talking to somebody. And if he knows Jimmy Sexton, that's the one. Like, that's who I would love. I mean, he never speaks publicly, but I would love to have him on this show.
I don't even know if he exists.
Here's my question, though. Here's my question. What if Ole Miss? Who do they? I don't know.
Ole Miss is in Tennessee.
What's their upcoming schedule the rest of the year, though?
Hang on, let me get that for you.
Because what if they finish out the season?
They're 4-1 right now.
Right. Let's say they lose 2 games.
All right, they get Tennessee on Saturday.
Okay,
they're
so that's
favored
a
by
win.
3.
Let's say it's a win.
Okay, so you got
Let's
to
just
win.
say it's a win.
They come to they're home versus LSU on the 23rd. They win. The day before Halloween, they're at Jordan Hare. They're playing Auburn.
I think they could beat Auburn.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay.
This is intriguing. Check out this one, November 6th. Hugh Freeze and Liberty in Oxford.
Wow.
To play Ole Miss.
That's
that game
awesome.
is going to have some. Yeah. I mean, that game is going to be
Yeah,
wild.
but
it's a win. It's a win. It's a
so
win.
that's 4.
Texas A&M is at home.
Let's say they lose that
okay,
game.
let's put an L next to it.
Yeah.
Vanderbilt at home.
Win.
Mississippi State at home. They travel to Mississippi State. Last game of the year.
Win. So 6 out of their 7. They have 7 games left.
So you're talking about an 11 win. You said you think they're going to win 10 games.
Let's say they go 10-2. 10-2. Does Kiffin say, because we need the next head coach has to be announced
that
as
he's
the
going to
head
coach the bowl?
Yeah.
Well, he's left before bowl games before.
Right,
Remember
that's
with
my
Alabama.
question. But he's not the head guy.
Well,
at
it's,
a 10
it's easier to
but
leave.
if they're 10-2, they're going to be on like a really good bowl game. You know, like they're going to be.
They could be.
But,
you know what I mean?
But if they already want what is it, Jeff Leahy to be the Libby to be the head coach in waiting, or if that's their plan, perfect opportunity for him to slide in. You get to see him on the sidelines. You're like, all right, this is my program now. Knows everything. So they have an interim in place, but Ole Miss is going to make it hard to walk away.
And I'm even okay if they say, hey, you know what? If he announces, accepts, he's the head coach, says, I'm going to coach the bowl game. I don't think they're going to let him do that. But if he said, I'm going to coach the bowl game, but he's already announced as the head coach, I'm okay with that too. I don't think they would let him do that. But I was talking about that yesterday. I was like, because I want Lane as well, but if they go 10-2,
and they're playing in a Power 6
like,
or like a New Year's 6 bowl game.
You know?
I mean, Kirby Smart did it. He was the defensive coordinator for that Clemson national championship game with Alabama, and he was recruiting for Georgia.
Right.
So it's happened before. It's not
but
wild.
not a head
It
coach.
was the head coach.
Right.
That's right.
I don't know.
Tommy Howard says Kiffin is the smokescreen. Possibly.
Maybe.
He's also the best candidate on the board, in my opinion.
I agree.
We haven't heard about anybody else that's better yet. I haven't.
Appreciate Jake Crane and JBoy for stopping by here. Thanks to Brody Miller. Remember, all of our stuff is podcasted and brought back to you by RMB Builders, Mikey Montook, Lloyd, and the crew. Appreciate you for stopping by. Hit us on social media. Make sure and hit that like button before you get out of here.
Wait.
Share, comment.
Have you seen this Oklahoma story?
Yes.
Yes. Oh, that's what I wanted to talk about.
Yes.
Earlier.
This is the Caleb Williams stuff,
It's
right?
the Caleb Williams
How
story.
about they on a public building with binoculars?
I love it.
I love that.
I love it.
I love
And they're
that.
students.
They JFK'd it.
Really from the standpoint of Oklahoma. So the story goes, Oklahoma, Lincoln Riley have closed off practice to the media. The media members are a little aggravated about that, but they've done it because they're changing up the reps between the first team quarterback. Obviously, Caleb Williams is now the starting quarterback and Spencer Rattler is the backup. Students from the Oklahoma student paper were in a building overlooking the field with binoculars and kind of broke the story that Caleb Williams was getting 85% of the number one of the he's getting the majority of the top reps, the first team reps at quarterback.
You only get that from students, man.
That is,
that.
and they're the only organization that you really can't cut off.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
you can't really look at them and say, hey, that's it for you. And so they put that out there. And yesterday, Riley and the crew closed practice off and they canceled the media session, which I thought was illegal.
Oh, it 100% is. You can't do that. You can't like you have. It's like if Orgeron did it.
It's in his contract,
right? That you have to make these appearances. But he said, "Bleep it! Like I'm out of here. I'm doing it my way because this is an absolute." I'd imagine he's trying to keep Spencer Rattler on the team for the rest of the year.
Well, did you hear the quotes from his parents?
Dad?
Oh, we're committed to Oklahoma, and then he said we'll evaluate it after January 10th. You ain't staying at Oklahoma. Oh, man. Did I say Alabama? That's Oklahoma. What did I say?
Oklahoma.
Yeah, Oklahoma.
I said Oklahoma. Yeah.
I mean, this is Lee Harvey Oswald at the school suppository at the Texas.
You're not staying there.
No,
You're
I'm
gone.
saying like the OU reporters are in a different building way off campus. This is JFK stuff where they're just scouting out everybody and seeing everything. They had the reps measured. Caleb Williams won the reps 11-7 with the starting team.
Yeah.
He started the like fake spring game that they did. Or fake fall game, whatever they wanted to call it. They have some weird name for it. So it seems like Caleb Williams is a starter, and once that leaked out by a school paper, I don't know if you either just got a job or that you'll never be able to cover Oklahoma football again.
Oh, no, he got a job. I mean, he's got a job bigger and better than Oklahoma football at the, Oklahomian or whatever it is who's ever covering.
But Lincoln Riley's never talking to you again. You're like, oh, you're that piece of shit? Like, you're that kid? Like,
I even think 3 or 4 years down the road, you can walk up and be
it.
like, hey, man, I was the one on the building that was shooting the binoculars. I was 21, coach.
Yeah, and get out of
I
here.
was Caleb Williams.
And like, was I really breaking a story that Caleb Williams was a starter?
Right.
You know what I mean? It's not like this is like some close competition.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're watching the team and watching the game, Caleb Williams is Michael Vick. Spencer Rattler is me. You know what I mean? Like, it's not even close.
Yeah, and get the coaches that get mad at report. Like, get out of here, bro. Man. Like, they did nothing wrong. Right. They're doing their job. They're trying to figure out. They're trying to get ahead of the game. Like you're trying to get ahead of the game. Hey, dude, everybody saw what happened last week. Everybody did, right? Whether you want to say it or not, people saw what was going on, and you don't want to. You just want to cower back, and you want to say, whether you say, "Oh, it's because I don't want them to game plan. I don't know what quarterback they want to game," but get out of here with that.
That new building, or the newest building on the corner of, it would be diagonal from the Party Box. If the Party Box is on the corner of South Stadium and Nicholson, on the other side of Nicholson, kind of on the caddy corner of that.
Like Mathern's? Or you'd be like Mathern's?
Yeah, that new fine building with the patio. Is that the TAF? Is that?
I don't know what that is.
I don't know who owns that. But you get on the third floor there, and you can look directly into the practice field and see what's happening over at LSU.
Yeah.
I mean, there are buildings, and I'm sure there are media members that have stalked that out before.
I'm sure the Reveille just got a lot of ideas of how to cover LSU practice. What are they really doing out there? I mean, I used to poke my eye.
Buddy Sanji up there today at noon.
No, I got a tooth taken out.
The Bud Man.
The Bud Man. He texted me last night and say, "Look, I feel like I'm all good." I was like, "I feel like you're still on anesthesia. Like, we'll wake up. Let me know how you feel tomorrow."
Bring your prescription, buddy.
That would be great.
All right, have a great day out there. We'll be back with you tomorrow morning at 7 a.m. We appreciate Go Chevrolet for driving us every day. Remember, RMB Builders brings back all of our sound, so anything you may have missed, our podcast is there. For the All-American Mikey Modtook, for Lloyd, I'm Jordy Culotta signing off. We'll be back with you tomorrow morning at 7 a.m.
Austin Law.